I see. Well, let's see what this is about.
Most ridiculous thing I've ever found.
I think it'll be
show.
very much down my alley of like game devin kind of shit.
What? So normally I only look at stuff out of bounds, but in order to look at everything out of bounds, I can also just call in everything that is in each chapter into the game world. And when I was doing that to find stuff out of bounds, like I said, I found this. And once I found out which folder this animation was from, there was another character in the same folder that you can also call in. So then I found this. Oh no. No, that can't be right. It is right in the sense that yes, that character model is supposed to be there. That wasn't intentional, right? It was intentional. This character is in the same folder and it's meant to be Anya getting a lap dance from Curly. That's not supposed to happen. Okay, maybe that's not supposed to happen, but obviously it's one of the most absurd developer gags I've ever seen ever. And it felt wrong to be the only person reacting to this, so I brought in a good friend of the channel, Vinny Vinesauce, to see what he thought before I published this episode.
What am I looking at? Well, this certainly puts an end to all the people complaining about the fan creations. I don't know if this increases my enjoyment. No, you know, it doesn't. I'm just going to put it out of my mind as soon as we're done here. But wow, that is actually shocking that that's in the game.
All right, well, on that note, welcome to another episode of an ongoing series where we basically take the camera anywhere we want to try to find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games. And today we're going to be covering mouthwashing. Not only are we going to be covering mouthwashing, but we're also going to be using a camera made by Jade, not the no-clip camera that all of you know about. This one's made from the ground up so we can look at even more stuff out of bounds. And we're also going to have one of the developers on to answer some of the questions of some of the stuff that I found. And let me tell you, there was stuff that was definitely found, so let's jump into that. In the chapter where you find a working cryo chamber, if you take the camera behind one of the non-working cryo chambers, you can find another Easter egg. You got yourself two of the Pony Express mascots sitting around eating a piece of meat on a plate with two cups. Very, very cute, kind of. Except knowing what that meat is, it's not cute anymore. Now, as you know, the resolution in this game is set to very, very low for aesthetic reasons. But as a result, a lot of the details in this game become impossible to see.
Everything looks
very high res. One of the best examples is this monitor here in the cockpit. If you take the camera up to the screen and start reading what's written here, you can see that it says, now let's write something important. Have you ever considered how useful umbrellas are? They're fashionable, protects you from rain, and can be pretty cute too. I wish I knew who invented them. Do you think they're famous? I could look it up, but I won't. You do it if you want. If you haven't realized by now, this text is useless garbage that doesn't mean anything. It's not meant to be read, just filler text. But that won't stop me from wishing you a good day. On the off chance that you're even actually able to read this, I wish you good things. I hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Dev.
Whether your day is ending or it's just beginning, I hope it is good. I'm just writing until the screen is full. I should have done the Lorem Ipsum thing, and I'm starting to regret that I didn't. Is it too late to start now? And then the rest of it is, in fact, in Lorem Ipsum. Except for the very end where it says, quote the Raven. And we're still not done with Easter eggs. In Chapter 2, if we take the camera underneath the map and go all the way over here, you can find a picture of some sort of creature. And it wasn't until I did a little bit of digging that I found out this is a character from another Wrong Oregon game called How Fish is Made. In fact, if you go to the Steam page for the game, you can see a little gif of him dancing right here. Next up is the scene where you find the TV in the warehouse, and if you zoom the camera out, there's a cool looking pattern to the boxes and how they're structured and everything. Also, I full brighted the floor here so that you can see the texture of the floor better, but more importantly than that, somebody's legs are sticking out of the environment, and it's none other than Curly. Now, why is Curly's legs sticking out of the ground? Well, that's because Curly has a little Easter egg that the player can find in-game. If you go over to this part of the environment, you can get spooked by Curly. And not only that, if you take the camera out of bounds now, you can see that Curly is humongous. And there's also a developer cube that's hidden underneath this map that is tied to the coding of this section. So this next one is really special. It's the title screen of the game, and when you pan the camera out normally, you could see another version of the panel that shows the sunset. But like I exampled earlier in this episode, if you start putting things back into the map that is supposed to be for this particular scene, you could see a completely unused title screen. Now my question is, why did you make a whole separate title screen when you already had one here? Granted, it doesn't look like it's fully modeled, but still, it looked like they were on their way to something. So I ended up asking the developer, Jeffrey Tomek.
Yeah, so we used to have this whole like diegetic menu concept for the game where Curly's whole setup with all the screens and stuff would be laid vertically. So we'd have like, you know, all the kind of medical equipment stack you would have like on attached to like the IV thing and the little card and all that stuff. And so that was going to be a big stack. It was going to have this set of like 4 screens. They would have the different menu buttons on them. And if you select any of those things, the camera would zoom into that and show like the more specific options. Like, you know, it would zoom into the options menu screen, and then the actual menu would appear inside that. The reason we cut it was both just like scope, like it was just complicated, but also we're running the game at 640p, which is actually pretty low resolution wise, and text that appears in 3D space can become very hard to read very quickly. So mapping something like diegetically like that ends up being a big problem.
And in one of the last few scenes of this game, you get this part where you're just dropping through here, and there's trees, and then there's like graves. It happens all so quickly though. But what's really cool is that if you take the camera over here, you can see inside the casket, and inside the casket is Daisuke, which obviously you don't get to see Daisuke inside this casket. Not only are you moving way too fast to ever be able to catch that, but secondly, the casket's completely closed in, so you wouldn't be able to see his body. But on top of that, when you get to the graveyard scene, every single casket that's in this scene has Daisuke inside of it as well. And speaking of Daisuke, we're going to do another close-up of the character's face because, again, the game's resolution is really low, and so you might not think to take the camera right up to it to see how different it is from the regular Daisuke. In fact, now we're on the topic of looking at character models, like, for example, Curly before the accident. There's not a lot of times where this character model is used, and even when it does, you don't get to see the entire character model in one shot. So one thing I really wanted to do is show the shoes. I know that sounds weird, but like all the characters have different shoes in this game, and Curly's is never shown to the player. So in this instance, you could see that Curly's shoes appear to be men's Uggs. Wasn't expecting that, but yeah, well, there you go. And again, these pairs of shoes are different from every other characters in the game. And we'll get to one other pair of shoes in a second, but also, if you take the camera inside of Curly after the accident, you can see that the eye will follow you no matter where you go. So in no clip, if you take the camera into the back of his head, for example, the eye will actually shift around to look at you. Also, if you thought that Anya just looked like Shelley Duvall by coincidence, if you take the camera over to the shelf of books, you can see that one of them says Stories from Overlook Hotel, which is a reference to The Shining, because the hotel that they stay at is the Overlook Hotel. Also, a detail you might have missed is that if you looked at this corkboard, there are a couple of sticky notes that have little doodles on them, some of which are for the Pony Express. And then there's one here that's really strange. It says Yimpy with a very unfortunate looking face drawn. But I've distracted you long enough. I know, you're all on the edge of your seat to see more shoes. So Swansea has a pair of sneakers, and they actually have a logo on them. Apparently these shoes are called Tilbs, T-I-L-B-S, which is really neat. And also, Swansea's key has a swan on it, but with the low resolution, it's not easy to see what's written on the little sign. So I wanted to take it up there for you, and it shows you that it says, "Where the fuck are my keys?" Seems a little bit excessive for a keychain, but that's fine. And then Daisuke has a Game Boy, or should I say a Game Kid. Really cool callback to 90s gaming. And what's really cool too is that if you take the camera behind the Game Kid, you can see that there are stickers of flowers on the back as well. There's also a World of Gaming magazine, and there's all sorts of different stuff that's written here. Like, for example, there's one that says, "Poll, would you rather be meat or vegetable?" And then to the left it says, "Fresh meat doing what? Experts infuriated." And then below that it says, "Opinion, wrong organ was right all along." And on the magazine itself it says, "New demo, now on Game ID exclusive interview." And if you had a hard time reading what was on the gravestone, it said, "Semper Desiderari," which translates to "always missed." Also, there's this scene here that you're not supposed to see yet, and the developers masked what is behind this weird smearing. If you take the camera behind the smearing, though, you can see a scene that is obviously not to be shown yet. So unlike some scenes we'll talk about, this one actually dedicated itself to what was supposed to be hidden from the player. And now I just want to show you the entire game's ship in one shot. Well, this is everything that you're able to see before the crash. After the crash, you obviously get access to the cargo area with all the mouthwash. And the room for that is so massive, it's bigger than the entire ship.
Yeah. Like that feels right for sure.
here's something that's resting above the player at all times, and I was curious, what the heck is the deal with this? It's attached to the player model, so whenever you walk around, you can see it walking with you. And of course, if you're standing still, you can see it breathing with you. So what is it? What is it doing? What's its purpose?
The texture that you're seeing floating above the player all the time is eventually a UI element that's being filmed by like a camera, and it's used to create something called a light cookie, which is like a texture that multiplies a light source by. So it means like you can effectively apply like a mask or like a filter over a light, which is what we're doing for the light gun. So every time you use the code scanner, every time you use it, you're seeing like that kind of barcode effect, and that's just what's hovering above your head.
And there's a couple things I want to talk about here with this scene where you're supposed to walk backwards from the vents. Apparently, there's no walls to this room. It's normally super dark, and when you have it completely lit up like this, you could see a weirdly textured, like, playpen that is massive surrounding the player. However, where you walk around and stuff like that implies that you're in a hallway of some sort. Now, then there's this little shrine to Daisuke, and there's a whole bunch of arms of Daisuke touching his weights, flowers, and game kit. But here's something that's really cool. If you take the camera underneath, you might notice some little strings. Now, what are these strings? It's actually Daisuke's arm, because if you go all the way to the bottom of these strings, you can find the rest of a teeny tiny mini Daisuke body.
What? Why?
And then I wanted to pan the camera out when you're holding Curly, because when you do, you realize Curly's not that big, or maybe it's not so much that the character model is small, but it's like in a different plane of existence, essentially. And so panning the camera out will make him shrink or enlarge in ways that normal objects in the environment don't. And this one will mess with your head. Apparently this scene where Jimmy shoots Swansea, it's got that cool shadow casted look, but apparently if you could turn on all the lights, you'd see that the character models are not just the regular character models, which is shocking to me. No, instead, they're lime green, and the objects like the chair and the gun are pure white. And this whole scene actually is resting well above the graveyard. Yeah, that's right. I'm showing you a zoom out of the graveyard right now by association of trying to tell you where this scene takes place. Also, that scene where Jimmy is walking towards Curly, it's not too far off from where you were before with the TV and Curly hooked up to all those valves.
Some of these, okay, so who are those Easter eggs for? Literally for this guy?
And the warping in this game is kind of creepy in my opinion. One of the scenes that I thought, like, wow, I wonder what's going on behind your back when the characters are moving up closer behind you. And you can see here that everybody that was in their original positions just sort of warped to where you end up seeing them next. And the same could be said for Daisuke. When Daisuke comes to you about Anya, he first starts off in the void. He's actually completely unlit too. So first I had to light him up just to prove that it was Daisuke here.
Well, I mean, like,
so here you
I
go.
get
And then when they
this.
do warp
Like,
him
this makes sense. Because, like, you gotta just put... Okay, so it's just, yeah, I guess that makes sense. She's just fucking around because, like, whatever. Okay, alright. I mean, he's not the only no-clipper around, but, like, he's like, the guy, right? I'm gonna go ahead and put this up. And there's a lot of people who do data mining. That's true as well. Give me half a sec. Food helped. I feel better after eating food. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking about, was like, this is how some people put their levels together, and that's worth looking at. Just from a game development thing.
The position for the scene of the game. You might remember that when you start walking around the ship, you turn around and he's just sort of like always a little bit behind you, but he's also never walking with you. You always have to have your back turned before he catches up. So I decided to show you what that looks like from another angle, and surprisingly, he's constantly warping.
I mean, that makes sense.
Also, you might remember that scene where Curly checks in on Anya, and then there's the revelation that Anya shares. And during that revelation, there's a cutaway scene where Anya's angle is shifted and she's in the void, like the darkness of space almost. Taking the camera
very
out will
much
show
a
you that
Watson
she's still in
moment.
the ship, and she's actually still in the same position as well. It's just that the camera angle is shifted, and what's changed is that there's a whole bunch of black walls that get shoved and pushed all over the place to cover her up completely. That way the cockpit is never seen during this part. And then for the last few chapters of the game, I noticed that when you pan the camera out just a little bit, you see this weird mask, and I was like, what the heck is this? So since this is not an Easter egg, I thought it was appropriate to ask Jeffrey, what's going on here?
Yeah, so that used to be the scare that popped up when you were looking away in the, like, you have to look at the vent segment. So, like, when the player would look away, that would kind of rise up in front of their screen. Now, it looked really silly, so we switched it out for the Daisuke face scare we have now. But back then, that's how it worked, and I never ended up removing it, because when I switched out the code, the second you rip out the code that makes it rise up, the player never sees it again, unless they up the FOV, as some players found. So that's why we decided not to take it out at this point, because it's kind of funny.
Also, you might remember the inventory of the game, right? So if you take the camera and move it around during this scene, there's actually just a texture that's hiding the void. And that the objects, of course, are all 3D, but where they really are in the game world is several feet up into the air above the game map.
Weird.
And this is true anytime you play the game. Also, here's a little bit of
Also,
immersion
that
for you.
cube-
During the
dude,
scene where
you need to
Swansea's banging on
refresh.
the
That
door, if you
cube
take the
thing was a
camera on the
minute
other
ago.
side, you can see that his character model is there, although he's not animated. His character model is essentially queued up and ready to
Oh,
go
I
for
see.
when his character model does smash through the window and is about to get through. And then you guys might remember this very infamous scene where Daisuke crawls up into the vent. And of course, I just wanted to see what happens when you do. Now, for some of you intrepid explorers that use the no-clip version of this camera, you might remember that the void has no refresh, but with the camera made by Jade, we can see a crystal clear exact moment when Daisuke actually disappears from the scene.
Interesting.
And for this scene with the eyeballs and stuff, there's a lot to be shown out of bounds. I think just the fact that there's a giant floating eyeball in the void is pretty amazing, but there's also a ton of textures of eyeballs as well hanging out in the void. And then towards the very, very end of the game, you might remember this scene here where you can see the Pony Express mascot and the moon behind him. I wanted to take the camera to show you the immersion breaking here, that the texture of the moon is in fact just that, a texture, and that where you are is still inside the warehouse. Next up is the ultrasound scene, and if you take the camera inside the body when you have the ultrasound activated, you can see all the bones and also the fetuses of the ponies inside this model. Now, surprisingly, the color of all these things is bright red. And I know some of you are going to be asking, like, what about the actual fetus itself with the face and everything?
I mean, you can see those when you look around in it
here. I don't know
normally.
if it's just something that's supposed to show up on the ultrasound itself only, but I looked all over when it's supposed to be in the scene and I couldn't get it to show up. And now it's time to explain how the looping hallways work. So this is from the very first chapter of the game, and you're walking around, and you might notice that the hallways are just way longer.
Do I
than you
have
would
this
ever
on like
imagine.
2 times
the
speed
truth
or
is
something, or
that
does
the
this dude just
hallway
talk?
isn't
He just
all
talk
loading at
fast. Okay.
once. And it's because it loads and unloads chunks of the hallway as you walk around. And also as you're walking around, those hallways have triggers, and then when your character walks past the trigger, it tells the game which part of the hallway to actually load in. And then for the Bizarro sequence, a lot of people want to know what it looked like when you zoom the camera out. And as you can see, that water layer is one giant circle, like massive, massive circle. Those little
Interesting.
black dots that are on top of the circle, that's all the ladders and warning signs that you would normally see, and they are not tiny either. So that just gives you the idea of the sense of scale for this circle. It's really, really huge. Okay, so you might remember this scene where there's a whole bunch of staircases, and normally it's completely unlit around the staircases, allowing a greater sense of depth that the player can't see. However, if you make the lighting neutral, you can see where all the staircases start and end, and also the walls and the doors that are at the top of all these staircases. It still looks like a mangled mess, even from this angle, but at least now you can kind of get a sense of what is actually in this area. And now we're going to start talking about faces, starting with the Curly faces in the final chapters. You can see Curly's face in the floor of this hallway, but if you pan the camera out, you can see that there's several faces that makes up this effect. And then there's the scene with the vents with the pony abomination, and you have to avoid it. You know what I'm talking about.
The pony
But, I
abomination
think
thing
everybody
was
knows
such
that
a
the
weird
infinite
thing
looping
to
environment
happen as
happens
well.
here in this scene as well. But just alone, you know, just like without looping or warping or loading in anything at all.
Felt like kind of a
the
random
environment is
element
still
to add in there
really
as well.
massive, which is very surprising to me. Yeah, it makes a cross shape, and of course, you know, you can go in any direction you really want. I'm just surprised by how much of it is already there though, before it has to do any sort of development trick. This one's kind of stupid, but I thought about it while I was playing the game, and I just want to show you guys that there's this scene where Swansea takes the little umbrella out of his drink, and I just want to know where it goes. In truth, the object just disappears once it's outside of the player. And I thought this would be hilarious. Obviously, there's no character model attached to you in most cases in this game. And so when there's the scene where you're cutting the cake with a knife, you can look at it from another angle and just see a phantom knife cutting into a cake. It's, when you really think about it, it's kind of funny. And of course, a lot of people want to know what happens when you combine objects, and this little contraption sort of covers up everything so you can't see what happens. I think to nobody's surprise, the objects that you put in just disappear and immediately get swapped in with the object that it combines into.
Yeah.
Again, another scene where it should be no surprise to anybody, but there's this cleverly angled scene where Jimmy's covered up by the bottles of mouthwash. And if you take the camera out of that angle, you can see that there is no Jimmy model, leaving a fairly strong commitment to the fact that if you're going to be in control of the character, that character model is not going to be there. And similarly, a scene that a lot of fans want to know about, of course, is the scene where Anya locks herself in the medical room. So people that know about the no clipping, go through the door, don't see anything on the other side. I think what we've established in this episode already is that we can restore things and see if there's anything that was actually in the code at least. And I did restore the medical room. This is what it looks like. There's no Curly, there's no Anya. There's nothing in the list of objects that I can summon Anya or Curly. They just don't exist in this chapter.
Sure.
So there is no Anya, but the medical room does technically exist. And then here's the scene where Swansea finishes off Daisuke. Normally the camera's angled in a way that you can't see the action, but this is what it does in fact look like. It looks as though you were originally meant to see this scene. The only thing that was a little bit off was that there was an instance of two axes at a certain point.
Well,
which, I mean, probably could have been cleaned up pretty easily
on the angle
if
too.
the developers wanted you to see the scenes. So I think it was strictly an artistic choice.
I might lie down here in a bit.
Show you this scene in the game.
But
and then the termination letter is actually worded differently than what is told to you in the game. It's not particularly exciting like the monitor that I talked about earlier. So I'm just going to show it to you. You can pause the screen right now if you'd like to read it out.
Oh,
but
my fuck.
with that in mind, we can move on to the next scene pretty quickly.
Is that real? Hold on. I know why that happened too. Yeah, we got like a foot of snow. Don't re-upload, it's fine. I want to hear what it sounds like. Hey everybody, did you know you can go to colinmullen.com in order to get art and art prints? That's why I set up the website, colinmullen.com. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's for this bit right here, because this bit right here, it's not doubled. It's literally me just saying the exact same thing several months ago with the same cadence. Hey everybody, did you know you can go to colinmullen.com in order to get art and art prints? That's my website, colinmullen.com. So I don't have the same problem next week, at least. This is just a weird little thing.
In one of the last scenes of the game, you're going through this vent and you can see a giant Daisuke head in the vent fan. Taking the camera out will show you that there's multiple heads, of course, and there's also a light source on top of his head. Similarly, in that scene where you have to walk backwards and keep your focus on the vents, there are 8 Swansea heads on the other side of this grating, which is pretty cool, and some of them are even contorted a little bit to be squished. And we'll talk about the final scene here with Curly. You load him into the cryo chamber, and then Jimmy walks off, and it's implied that he shoots off a gun. First, I want to show you what happens with Jimmy. You can just see that he only walks a couple steps, and then he just stands in place. Obviously, the story implies something different, but taking the camera and showing you what happens is a little bit of a different story. And with Curly, you're in the first person mode. We talked about how the character model is never shown when you're actually in control of the character, but this is the one instance where that's not true. Taking the camera out will show you that Curly's head is missing and his neck is sucked into his body. It's incredibly likely that Curly's face is actually like the size of a needle tip. Yeah, but unfortunately, without the ability for me to mess with the field of vision, it's gonna be really hard to see that in the game. But again, I would probably take a strong guess that it is in fact there. And that's all I got for now. If you're brand new, I recommend the Bendy and the Ink Machine episode. That one also has its game's creator, the Meatly, guesting on it, answering some questions.
That's
it's
very
a pretty
cool.
good one. And of course, I recommend subscribing for more episodes in the future. If
That's
you're
very
a super
cool.
awesome fan, Patreon support will definitely help me weather through those early months of YouTube is rough. So anybody that can offer a little bit of support can go a super long way. I appreciate you.
First
And to
couple of
literally
months of every
everyone,
year suck
thank you
ass
so
on
much,
YouTube.
And I hope you have an amazing holiday season. Take care.
Interesting. It does really actually help me understand how to, like, do stuff.
No, now. Now is morning. Now is hello. Before was night. Before night.
It's just a very quiet video. It's cranked all the way up. Apologies.
Billy. Now afternoon. Later night. Before morning.
Did Billy pass away? That's unfortunate.
Good.
That's too bad.
Morning. Oh my God, you're so good. Yes, Billy. Good morning.
I'm curious on how, like, good these button things are. What are you grumpy about? Had grumps in its butt. Those tail flickies are very much just like, come on now.
Now morning. Later night. And yes, Billy can go outside night. Oh,
I mean, that one
Alright,
was definitely like a mispress.
yes, we can go outside tonight.
Like, my cats will communicate to some degree without, like, needing that. Abby is definitely overly emotional. She's a very opinionated cat. I mean, it's cute. I prefer to just learn animal body language because, like, then, like, you don't need the thing. When's the next time I'll play Project Zomboid? I need to get things, I need to get things set up with the Luigi guy. And we can go from there. I need to make a graphic for the subathon. I think I'll open up, like, MS Paint real quick. Hold on. All right. Because I promised Luigi guy that I would do that with him. Because, like, we've been meaning to do a stream together for a bit. And that's the one he wanted to do. So I'm kind of like, whenever he's ready. I'm sick right now, so I'm not really able to, but yeah. Luigi Guy is my mod. Let me turn, yeah, all right. So like, there he is. There's the fella. Where's my mouse? There it is. All right. So sub thon. Feb. We should put Rev. That's a bad R. Rev subathon. Feb 14 to 17. Flash games. Punishment wheel. Fuck. I forgot the H. I would say cool prizes because that seems like a thing you should say, but like, I'm not doing cool prizes. Yeah. Fucking sick. Like Super Saiyan glow going on. I should draw a little me. Sub goals. Do we have enough goals in punishment wheel? You could always add more stuff. Guess? I don't know if I've guessed. I'd appreciate them. I guess I should invite people. Try maybe down. All right, let me just like right now. Let's send a thing to all my friends. All right, starting with, hey, I'm doing a subathon 14th to 17th if you wanna drop by. Is that how people normally talk to each other? I think so. I sent that to Mike. Here's Chai. Limes. Who else do I maintain regular contact with? Ugh. Hey, Catty K, thank you for the 35 months of support. Hackling. Leroy. I haven't talked to Ima in like a minute, dude. I need to send one to Fat Nuts, yeah. Hacker. Andre. I'll just post this in the Vine Sauce like chat. Anyone who still looks at that thing can see it. Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. 13K just on Yoel's stream alone. I got Andre Leroy. Yeah, Vine Russell makes bank for donos. Yoel usually is like the biggest draw. Guess? How the fuck? Thank you. Just kind of forgot how to spell guess there for a second, you know? You ever forget how to spell a word because you're stupid? Like, I've spelled the word guess before. Thank you. And it's usually a really easy word, like guess. Like, guess is not the easiest. Listen, I don't want to admit something super cringe, but I'm gonna. I did wear a Tribly for a bit. I think I'm gonna do normal stream times on those days. I did call it a fedora. How old was I and what year was it? It was like right before it became like that stupid shit. Whereas like, milady. Like, I wore one for a bit. And I was just like, Jesus fuck. Yeah, no, once it became like a milady thing, and the heat just like melting my skin, it's just not worth it. I ditched those hats. I don't have them anymore. Like, I sweated through them because of the Texas heat. I need to get myself a hat for the gardening shit. Oh, that's cool. I want to get a hat like my Rev fella has. I don't know what that's called. Get a bucket hat? Yeah. Sun hats, I don't know as if a sun hat would look. You know what? It would be so off color that it might actually look good. I'll draw a picture of a cat. That's a cat. Yeah. Cool. That looks like an announcement, right? I don't want anyone to expect that things are going to be like good. So it's best to start them off with the expectation that it's going to be bad. And I'm not going to go the full day on the 17th, I'll be real. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for, is like a shit. All right, now we got to post on Blue Skeet. I thought about tweeting out today that I was going live, and I was like, actually, no. I largely based it on Snufkin's hat. Where the fuck did that go? Oh, there it is. Cool. Oh, wow. It looks like ass. I'm just not going to use my Twitter anymore, I think. Cool. All right. We did it. We're going to skip the rest of this video because I kind of...
So, do you guys remember Butcher's Creek, that game that I'm releasing in 2024? So this game is a fucking mess. This code base is a mess. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is the enemy AI script. Look at this. Why did I do this? So,
Mood.
yeah, I'm releasing this next year. This is gonna be the last game I release on Unity. This is gonna be like my crowning achievement of Unity game development. Look at your foot. I haven't even made a look. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna show you. Takes forever to start up, of course. I don't even know at this point what all gets loaded at runtime, or like what all gets loaded when it starts.
Oh, it looks good.
I don't know, but like, look at you. This is your kick. This is your kick. I haven't modeled a foot. Anyway.
Like, the graphics are good.
Yeah, I started this game. I started this like kind of right after dusk. So that was like 5 years ago at this point.
Jesus.
It started as a different game, and then I was like, you know, I should take the foundation of this game and turn it into something simpler so I can actually finish it. And then here we are 5 years later, and it's not finished. And like, so last night I was so for the 5 years there's been no animations for the enemies standing there. They just have a walking animation.
Flop hat.
So yesterday, here, I'll show you what that looks like. It's just so yesterday I was like, it's finally time, and now they have this like soy boy standing there pose, which I probably need to fix. Oh right, they die instantly if you sneak attack them. Yo, look at that! What is going on there? I need to fix that. So they just had this walking animation, and they would just stand there walking in place. Yeah, that's a thing. These need sound. Anyway, they just stand there walking in place. So I added that now is playing, and they're just sliding around. Let's see. Yeah, there. It looks so dumb. I don't know how to make it look good. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. How have I gotten this far? How have you people let me get this far? And this is what I make. But anyway,
This
so
is like
I'm
so
like, okay, let's
game
just
dev
implement
core.
that. This is all the animations they have. And I'm like, here's a stand pose, so they can actually stand there and they're not just walking in place. And it took like 2 or 3 hours because there's no logic in this whole script for the enemy knowing when they're moving and when they're not moving. Nothing. It's just this. They get close and like there's nothing that tells them when they're moving and when they're not moving. So I had to figure out this really hacky way of doing that. Look at this. Look at right here. It's literally it's
If movement
all
state
of
equals
this
0,
is just
then
checking to see if any if they're
I see.
staggering, if they're halted, if they're being knocked back with the kick. That's all this is. And then it's like,
This
okay,
makes me
well,
want to
if
do
the
game
animation
dev.
they're playing is stand there animation, but they're supposed to be moving, then make them play the move animation. Or if they're supposed to be standing and they're playing the block animation, then make them stand. It's terrible. And then because it's not actually doing any of the state machine stuff it's supposed to make any of this work, it's like I had to go through and I have to do this. I don't even know what this does. I looked at the documentation and it didn't help me. I don't understand what this does, but it was on a forum somewhere. And it was like, this is how you make it just instantly do a trigger and cancel everything else before it. So I have that before it starts every animation for the enemy, because that's the only way I could get it to work. And then
This is so real.
And then let me show you the enemies.
He's
There
so
it
fucking
works.
real for this shit.
Here, where are they? Look at this folder structure. It's so bad. I've been working on this game off and on for 5 years. And the reason is I keep getting to a point where I'm like, I can't, this is not gonna work. And I just have to abandon this and do something else. And then I go do something else and then I come back to this. It's old. This was my test character when I was setting up the AI and
That's
in
from
combat and stuff 5 years
Dusk?
ago. It's a Dusk character because
Yeah.
that's all I had at the time.
That's
so right
fine.
now there's 4 different enemies, but they're all the same model and texture, and I need to figure out some way to make different enemy types, make them all look different. They're just palette swaps right now. I need to make
This
them all
is
look
actual
different,
YouTube, yeah.
but all use the same mesh and the same animations and stuff, because there is no way that I am.
I mean, at the end of the
figure out
day, it
how to implement
works.
another mesh and other animations and all of that and other.
It doesn't
ragdolls and
matter how
stuff in
shit it
this
looks behind
framework.
closed doors. As long
like,
as, like,
here's
the player
here's the
doesn't
main-
notice how shit it
I'm
is,
just gonna have
it's
to-
fine.
I'm gonna have to like.
Like, the
I
Baltro
don't know,
dev says
make,
his
like,
stuff's
masks or
horribly
something and
coded.
attach, and, like, just do
I haven't
different texture and
noticed
attach, like, masks
playing
to the
it.
character and like I don't know. I'll figure it out, I guess. But you want to see what happens when this guy dies? Like, oh, where is it? He's technically, it's just like Dusk. He's technically a destructible
Again, yeah,
object.
Undertale as
Then,
well.
because
It
enemies
doesn't
are
matter how
destructible
shit it is
objects,
as long as it
there's only, like,
works.
a few other destructible objects in this game. Most of the destructible object code is then dealing with, well, what if this destructible object is an enemy? Because I suck at programming. And I've always sucked at programming. And everyone's like, no, it's fine. Well, everyone does. But no, you don't understand. I barely have a grasp on object-oriented design.
I don't even know what that
barely
means, man.
understand it. Every game I've made is just hacking together this stuff because I never set it up right. It's never organized properly. Anyway, when this guy dies, he spawns dead enemy. Here's dead enemy. Dead enemy is a ragdoll. And dead enemy has this sound that there's no code. It's just a sound that plays when it becomes active, and that's one of the death noises. And then there are other noises that are played somewhere else. And then to get him to fly, it's the dead enemy script right here. It just punts one of his bones in the right direction. And it actually looks okay, in my defense. Here, I'll show you what that looks like here. We'll get rid of a sledgehammer. We're gonna alert this guy by kicking him so he can slide around like he's on ice. Oh, he's blocking me here. See, it looks okay.
That looks fine.
But it's just so hacky.
It doesn't matter.
And get this guy. Yeah, see, it looks
Yeah, it
good.
looks great.
But, jeez, this is
A majority of players won't know what's going
This
on
is
under the
messy.
hood, and
Cut their
anyone
heads
else will
off,
just think it's
too.
funny.
I think this spawn. Does this spawn it, or is it destructible? I don't remember. No, it's different. That's right. It's a completely different prefab, which is dead enemy headless, and then he has a head, and that head is a rigid body, and it's part of a different prefab.
What?
And oh my goodness, it's just a mess. You want to see the levels? You want to see the level structure? Look at all this. Look at so map 1 is the first map. Map 2 is not the second map. There needs to be a map between map 1 and map 2 that I haven't made yet.
Oh.
I don't remember what map 2 old is. I don't think map 3 is even used. No, this isn't even used. Map 3 isn't used.
What the
I
fuck?
don't know what the actual map 3 is, but it's not actually map 3. It's like map 4 or something like that.
Why are you
It's
doing
map
this?
3 too. And is this it? No.
He kind
map
of does
3
sound
too
like
isn't
Try,
used
doesn't
either.
he?
No, because all of this got combined into map 2, which isn't actually map 2. It's actually like map 3. But map 3 isn't actually map 3. And then after that, we get to is it map 4? Let me check. No, map 4 is actually something like map 8 or 9. This takes place like near the end of the game, and it's not finished yet, because all it is this terrain, and a bunch of trees on the terrain, because I need to detail all of this, and I haven't had time. And then it plays thunder and lightning, and that's actually kind of cool, and there's a tornado siren that goes off.
Okay. I said, sorry I didn't see your Helldivers thing until late, but y'all did good from what I saw. And Mike says, we lost. And I said, well, yeah, but second place.
And it's cool, except that it looks like you're just on a Unity terrain with a bunch of
I mean,
trees.
out of
That's
two,
all
but
it
we
is
don't
right
have to
now.
talk about that.
And then we get to map 5, I don't think is used either. Oh yeah, map 5 isn't used. This was back when the game was going to be like twice as long. And then, yeah, this isn't there's no daytime in the game anymore. And then after that, then I just abandoned map numbers. And then it's just like, what is arch scene? This is
Just an arch?
arch. I don't know why this is in here. And there's like, I don't know, there's like house. Where's house? House, here we go. There's house, and then there's house 2. And the reason there's house 2 is because when house, here's house. Is actually one of the most complex maps in the game, actually. But like, when I run house in the editor, everything's fine. But when I build the game and run house, then like the UVs of random things are all swirly and warped, and I don't know why. And I've tried to fix it, and like I can't. There's like I had to redo these supports in Pro Builder, to get them to not be all swirly. And I think the stairs are still swirly, and this entire room is just like the concrete just starts going like vroop, 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 and like melting. And I don't know what I'm gonna do about that yet. Also, there is no occlusion culling in this game yet. This map has like,
Oh, God.
like this one's kind of broken up, which is good. Like this is decent. I can probably work with this, but then look at this.
What does occlusion culling do?
Go to map 1. No, not this one. Not map 1. It's map 2. That isn't actually map 2. That's actually like map 3. But map 3
Bug
isn't
faction
actually
with
map
less
3.
samples and Mike ignoring Fred's DMs about the rules. I mean, yeah, aside from
Yeah, here
that,
we
they did
go.
great.
So you ready for this?
I would not have
There's
chosen the
one loaded
Illuminates
level.
personally, because they're
Oh, I can't select it. Come on.
just annoying
There's
to
the other part.
fight
Look at
beyond
this.
the glitches.
Look at how bad this is. And then, oh, it's so bad.
The bugs are easier, but
occlusion culling, because this game,
I don't know if it's
uses
worth. And you
forward
always do
rendering.
level 10.
So every light means like everything that light touches is another draw call. And there's a few dynamic lights in this game. Mostly it's just your own light, but there's a few of these to make it look good, as you can see. And it's all like this is being, I don't even know how many times this is being drawn and overdrawn. Also, I need occlusion culling, and you start here in this cage, and if you look either this way or this way, you're seeing like most of the level, and the frame rate just drops like exponentially. And I don't, yeah, so I'm gonna have to bake occlusion culling on that. And yeah, this is just a mess. It's kind of cool. Like the game here, you know what? Screw it, why not? I'll show you some of the combat. We'll go to yeah, we'll go here. Like I don't even care anymore. I probably should just be saving all of this, and you can see the nice polished version.
I like seeing it shit though.
Like I'm so done. I'm so done with this year. Look at this lock.
Mood.
You use tapes to unlock it, but there's no model yet. It's just a big Unity cube.
Graphically, it looks pretty good.
Here, and like, yeah, whatever. You guys can see whatever. There's some notes. You got notes. You got this guy nailed to the door who looks like a turkey, so it's the turkey door. We need a weapon. There's gonna be ambient sound and stuff, of course. Like, there's gonna be. I'm probably gonna write a soundtrack for it. All that.
I'm a little froggy. I love you, sweetheart. How's work?
Guys with the hammer.
I saw that like people are still coming in, but it's like not that much.
So at least they now previously they would just be like walking in place right here.
I love you too.
Stand. As horrible as that code is, at least it works. Just gonna smash him. You're gonna save at TVs using tapes. A little bit like survival horror, but there's a lot of tapes. You're never gonna run out. It's just for fun. Just run down here. Beat these guys up. They all need sounds. They don't have any sounds yet. Look at them just stand. They look so dumb. But I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do at this point. Let's just beat him. We can throw our weapon. And kind of stun lock him, which is fun. Like it. I mean, obviously they're like clipping through walls and stuff like that.
He's seeing a lot more errors than I am.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's how it's gonna look.
Green.
He's just like he's got like the dump pose, like he went poo poo in his pants. This is supposed to be like a gritty horror game. Oh, I missed. Oh.
I'm just hoping that you get home nice and safe.
Oh yeah, and see, I don't have other ragdolls for the
kick.
enemy types. The ragdolls are hilarious though. Like, look at
You know what thing I was thinking about?
Oh my gosh.
No, actually, like, that one turned out good. When it first started, I was like, that sucks.
Thankfully,
And then I got about, like, 25% in, and I'm like, oh, hold up.
Oh yeah, you brutal murder, excellent.
But for the first, like, 25%, I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, we need a key for that, and we'll go up here. There's a hidden tape there. If you go over here and just bloop, tape. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's like how I know it's going to be a good painting is like, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. I draw for a living. I hate art. Art sucks. Yeah, no, it's a mood. But no, the vibe of like when you actually see it start coming together like early too, you're like, oh. Yeah, that guy turned out pretty good. I need to get some more water in a second. The Zuby Bunny. Yeah, no, the Zuby Bunny is the fucking queen for that shit.
This code base is a complete mess. And, oh yeah, you can take pictures of horrible things. Beat these guys for a little bit. Grab something else.
I apologize for being sick.
Whoop. Nope, don't want to read the note. I want to of the downsides of the board here is you have to block with your hand, which
Hi.
would actually hurt quite a bit in real life. There we go. Yeah, they need sounds. That'll help make it better, I guess. They need to be like, I don't know, swearing and yelling at you and acting like you just knocked their teeth out and stuff like that.
I'll be fine. I've got, my days off coming here soon.
Yeah, I've got it. There's a story. It's weird. It's dark. It's bizarre. It's sort of squirrel stapler humor.
What?
Yeah. Anyway.
Come here,
Man,
boy.
I don't know.
You're cold.
This is-
Why are you
this is
cold?
just a disaster.
Come here.
I mean, this is what I do though. Is I'm not good at many things, but I am good at taking messes and hacking them together into something usable.
That's what
So
programming
hopefully,
is.
by whenever I release this next year, it'll be more playable. I mean, it's playable right now. It's
Yeah,
just
it
that if you
plays.
look behind the curtain, your face is gonna melt like you opened the Ark of the Covenant. And you know the scariest part? The scariest thing about this game is that I have not implemented saving yet. So I'm
Oh.
gonna have to go through all this nonsense. All of this.
Yeah, I don't intend on doing saving or
Like, and figure
multiplayer.
out how to
That
get
sounds
this
hard.
Silent ragdoll. Why does it... Like, I don't know why there's a silent ragdoll function. Herder script. Does silent... Oh, is that... I think that's for the weird spinny saw blade things? I don't remember. I literally have multiple children that are younger than this game code. Anyway,
That's wild
I
to
don't know
say.
if this is the sort of content that anyone cares about. It just struck me as something that'd be real. Look at this is how. Oh yeah. This is a hurt. It damages the player. It kills them instantly. Do you want to see what that looks like? Because that's what I'm gonna try and fix today, probably if I have time. So here we are in the test scene. Let's grab a more fun weapon. Let's grab this axe.
Don't they instantly die right now
They don't
anyway?
hear each other. So if I run into these saw blade things, it's just red. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. Give it a sec.
Did it break?
Nope. It's not working. It's supposed to fade away, and then I'm still alive because there's no death state yet. Why is it still staying red? That's weird.
Video games.
We'll end this stupid video by grabbing a pipe and here.
He seems like he's having fun.
Here.
I got a very loud boy here.
Whee! All
those
right.
nails
Thank
are
you,
sharp
everyone,
though,
for
boy.
watching.
Careful with that.
I'm gonna go try and wrangle this into wrangle some more functionality out of this disgusting eldritch mess that I have created. Thank you, everyone. I will talk to you later. Bye.
I have one job today, and one job only.
30 minutes is a long video. You
Why
got
this
5.
screenshot over there is a really cool screenshot. Are you ready for that? Come on, are you ready for? Thank you. There we go. It's Friday, right? Yes. All right. Hi. My name is Oliver.
Wait, I normally work
I'm
on
a senior
Mondays.
software developer, and this will sound strange, but one, I am no Doom expert, and two, I do not work at
Shit.
the European Space Agency. Okay.
Wait,
cool.
no, I don't. Do I work on Mondays?
ahead.
I do.
Only 4 people? Yes, thank you. Good. Doom is a 1993
Nothing's going on in the S&P, no.
first-person shooter. Looks kind of like this. You have a car,
Everyone kind of agreed that
shoot
it
the
kind of
demons in
like
the
fell
face,
apart
right?
after we killed the End Dragon.
Great fun, right? Your own Phobos, one of the moons of Mars. You like story, right? Good. It's the home of a teleportation experiment that went wrong. Yada, 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 demons from hell. Right? That is the detailed description of Doom, the video game.
More or
We're not
less,
finding
honestly.
more than this, right? Good.
They're talking about doing a new
1997,
one that
id
involves.
Software, the makers of the game, open source Doom.
Well, I
and
don't
the
know if it's
community,
a thing yet, so I don't want
went
to say
wild.
anything, but
they went absolutely wild, right?
I'm going to be there for that.
In the README file of the original release of Doom, when it open sourced, they gave people some project ideas. The file said, some project ideas. Port it to your favorite operating system. And oh boy. This is just the tip of the iceberg of just the Doom variant, and then there's
That's where
stuff.
Z Doom comes
People
from.
ported it to their smartwatch, they ported it to Sonic. I don't even actually know if that Doom in Sonic works, but that's a really funny thing to see. But yeah, Doom runs on everything, right? Now, it has kind of turned into more of a challenge. Can it run Doom, right? Like, you might ask, but why is it so easily portable? Like, what's going on here? Well, the boring description is it's relatively straightforward C with few external dependencies that can be swapped out easily. Yeah. So, this is a function. Functions can have if statements and ask questions. Functions can call other functions, right? You can do some math within those functions.
Right.
You can even do math in the if statements, which is a fun thing to see. You can do other checks, return booleans, right? So this will run on everything, right? Good. In 2020, I'm sorry to Jason if he's here in the audience. There he is. In 2020, Jason Turner made a very short YouTube video. Yes, where he was playing with the idea of porting Doom to C++. It is only 11 hours. He did not finish.
12.
One day, right? Sure. In 2022,
11:55.
Patricia Voss, which also might be somewhere, there she is, had an idea of maybe Doom can be an interesting educational tool. So she continued where Jason left off. And the initial question Patricia had to me was, how can I make sure what I changed is still okay? Because you're going to mess with code and abstract and refactor and yada yada. I don't know if it's going to work, right? I compiled it, it works, right? So Doom allows you to write and record your play session to disk, record it to a file. But this is 1993, so these files only contain the actual inputs that you press during the gameplay session. So you can see that these are only a couple of kilobytes in size. This works because any source of randomness is pulled from this file over here and is shared between all entities in the game. And each entity performs its actions in the same order, so it's very deterministic. Very demure, right? So you can write unit tests. Sure, that's fine. You can play the game yourself, or you can replay the demo file that you've recorded, a bunch of them even, and check how the level went, and compare it to a known good version of the game. So you do your code changes, and then run the demo files again. Did they kill the same monsters? Did they find the same secrets? Yada, yada. If you did any breaking changes, the butterfly effect is in full swing over here. So the text output that you can get also from the game, which is the same screen at the end of the game, will be different. So if you broke anything, you will obviously see if you broke anything, right? And then you can hook this up to your build system and run all of the demo files on all the platforms, right? All green. And since we're just checking text output against text output, we don't even need to render anything to the screen. We can also modify the game so it doesn't even run at the same speed. It runs as fast as it can. So running all the demo files, every single one of them, just takes a couple of milliseconds. Good. This gives us Doom on GitHub Actions, which is a talk I gave at this very conference last year. Very fun. Then the video of the talk, there's me talking, got released on YouTube. And shortly after that video got released on YouTube, I got a message. Hey man, I'm an engineer at the European Space Agency. I've been meaning to run Doom on the OPSAT spacecraft.
Sure.
Maybe you'd be interested in partnering. So I see this message, and my first thought in my head was, wow, those spammers are really good. Like really targeting special interests right now, right? Good. So this is George LeBreche, PS, not a scammer. a spacecraft operation engineer at the European Space Agency, and now a systems engineer at Tanaka Space. And hey, if you need in-orbit machine learning, just so you know, he's your guy. Good to know. So what is this OPSAT, right? This is from the European Space Agency. It's a flying laboratory. ESA's OPSAT is the first of its kind with the sole purpose of testing and validating new techniques in mission control and onboard.
Can you even see that painting I was pointing at? You can't. That was such a random thing for me to say then.
Drastically improved mission control capabilities that will arise when satellites can fly more powerful onboard computers. The satellite is only 30 centimeters high, but it contains an experimental computer 10 times more powerful than any current ESA spacecraft. You say 30 centimeters. For those,
yeah, I was going to say.
Traveled here via airplane. Your suitcase is probably bigger than OPSAT. Good. So, what's going on here? The satellite industry has this vicious cycle of has never flown, will never fly. So the point with that project was to break that curse, because if you spent all of those millions of dollars, right, you're not very receptive to some cool experimental ideas, right? Or maybe you are. I mean, you should call the space people then. The whole point of the project is to be an open laboratory. To have and accept experimental ideas from the public. It says, the world's only spacecraft freely open to public use. That was OPSAT.
Interesting.
Right? So, current satellites run a lot of special.
I feel like this is beyond what I could do to be able to have good commentary on it. I'm going to be real with you.
So, they have
it's a bit long.
With ARM dual-core.
Do we keep going or do we skip on this one?
5 FPGA for the nerds in the audience, which I think.
Because I do enjoy this, but it is a bit dry.
The part of the satellite where they perform the experiments is Ubuntu 18.4.
Doom in Space in DC Tech Town. For anyone who wants it.
For the past 2 years, I've been remaking Minecraft.
Who is this? Can you link it? Yeah. I can link it to WhatsApp. That's cool. Is this the playlist version or just the video? Okay, it's just the video. There we go. Yeah, it's a good video. It's just a little long for my taste. I'm gonna get some fuck. I'm gonna get some water real quick. I'll be right back. I might have to take a couple extra days off. Maybe just like take off the days that my wife have off this weekend, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or something. Because she'll be home soon, so I'm gonna push through the last bit of this. Let me go ahead and run an ad. I'll be right back. 1 minute 30. Yeah, I mean, I find that incredibly interesting, but like I think it's probably a little too dense. I gotta go turn on the wife's light. Yeah. Oh, I kind of want to see the original female rules. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. There we are. I'm back. You do not want to see the original female rules. When vetting that one, it was rough. All right, I'm being real with you. Can I look up EverQuest real quick? EverQuest, male versus female. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, stats. That was what I was looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. No, they aren't actually statistically different or the same. I remember them being actually different, like that you had different stats that you got for being male over female. I think it was like physical stats for men and like mental stats for women or something like that. It was just like, come on, man.
Into different genres to learn game development. But recently, while roaming the procedural planes, I found myself having a need. A need for speed. So I decided to learn a game engine, a coding language, and just kinda learn real coding in general. And build a Minecraft racing game from the ground up. And I have 1 month. I spent the first day just making the model for a minecart with wheels, and then imported it into Godot, trying to add realistic physics and suspensions. And look, it worked straight away. No, just kidding, of course not. I have no idea what I'm doing. Instead, I tried to use a sphere as the main body of the cart that rolls around, and basically you control the sphere with no regard for the actual cart model. I followed this tutorial from Kids Can Code, and thank God this man exists, because it actually worked this time. I even added jumping and drifting. Two
that's pretty
unique
good.
and groundbreaking game mechanics that no other kart game has ever done before. It was time to remove the ghost that's been piloting the cart so far and throw in Steve, so I made a quick model, plopped him into the cart, and with the character done, I ditched this horrid test level and got to work on the first map out of 3, the overworld. So the general plan is to have these 3 maps. You run 3 laps for each, with working AI enemies and some interesting powers that the player can grab and use. So starting with the map, I made a big round disc, just like the real Earth, and then snatched this free water shader to put on top. And added another shader for procedural sky.
I didn't even think of that. You could do a sphere using just the top of a cylinder and then making the cylinder flat.
With some cartoon clouds moving along. Ooh, whew, look at that, that's pretty nice. But there's one small issue. This took me 4 whole days just for a wobbly cart and a big lake.
That's
which
pretty
wasn't
good,
even
though.
My lake. I stole the lake. This was bad. I needed some kind of divine miracle to make the map as quickly as possible. Lucky for me, I had a good old trick in my book. I have found out while I was up until 6 AM yesterday that what the issue? We can reuse assets, baby. Remember all the blocks I made for the Minecraft RPG? Well, I totally didn't snatch all the models for those and just fix them up a little bit for this game, cause that would be really unethical. Arranged them to make a mesh library, and with that, I used Godot's grid maps to make this big bedrock raft that looks just as bad as the old horrid test level. Awesome. But of course, there had to be a bigger problem. Did you spot it? Take a look right here. You see the bumpiness? Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. Basically, the sphere controlling the character was getting stuck in every single seam between the blocks on the ground. Because this specific interaction between a sphere and the grid map doesn't work very well. Oh my god. This was a disaster. It meant I had to remake the entire character controls. As you can see, I'm in the mood for some racing. We're gonna race.
Can't
today.
you just
We're gonna
like
be
use
racists.
a different hitbox and just
Don't
say
keep
fuck
that
it?
in the video. It was at this point that I found a post from someone who had gone through my entire process, even down to following the same tutorial I followed and running into the same issue. Luckily, that meant all I had to do was copy his script and... Wait, he didn't attach the script? He's like, oh, I made it! And attached a GIF of his cart working. Great, I'm just doing it all myself.
Oh my god, dude.
This is incomprehensible. I have been working on this for 9 hours. I have some pen and paper notes. All of this just to replace a stupid...
I was kind of thinking about using
Great. Now
like
that
pseudo
that's out of the way,
sprites
it was
for
time to
the
design the map. I whipped up some quick sketches in Photoshop for all three of them, Overworld, Nether, and End, and started to draw the whole thing block by block, which also took like another 10 hours. Oops. I also made some hills, fences, and a ramp. That doesn't work. Whatever, we'll fix it later. In the meantime, I spruced up the map by placing some trees, and map number 1 was done. Well, that was quick. So far, this only took like 8 days. I am so screwed. With panic in my heart, it's time to work on some...
Like, he's
racing
acting like this is a
So I
bad
have a timer,
timeline
5
for
checkpoints
the
around
game he's
map,
trying to
and
make.
that zone in the water that teleports you to the last checkpoint. Okay, awesome. We got the map ready, but the game just starts outright, and we need to instead have a main menu to ease the user into the torture that will be playing this thing.
I was thinking
somehow
about
managed to make
having like a tutorial level effectively for my game, just like the control tube bit, because I want to have you jump off a significantly high building. He's playing it a lot. Yeah, I mean, he says unethical, but it's just like, who cares? It's fine. I'm kind of interested on just like some of the stuff that actually works. I'm just gonna check up the heads up display bit because that actually I think I care about.
At this point, we were nearly 3 weeks into the project, and with just 1 week left, I still had a lot left to do. I managed to put together a pose menu that looks identical to the main menu because, you know, I copied that over. But that night, I found something harrowing. A fully working demo in the correct version of Godot with AI that I could have used as reference the whole time. I could have probably saved a week of work, maybe more. Well, too late now.
Yeah, it's all right. But I was thinking about like, what if I just like make
This is the first episode of Will It Rat. It's where I find a yarn that is not
Yeah, I'm gonna
suitable
skip
for
that because
amigurumi,
he's complaining about
and
things
I
that
make an
he's doing to
amigurumi
himself.
rat out of it. Today I am using Red Heart Super Saver Scrubby yarn. Now initially when I feel this yarn, I actually like the texture of it. It feels rough and I like rough textures. However, I feel like it's going to be unpleasant to crochet with, not because it'll feel really bad rubbing on my fingers, but also because I don't think the stitch definition is very good with this yarn, so I won't be able to see my stitches. And this pattern requires a lot of sewing. I have to sew on all these parts.
Honestly,
so I feel like I'm not going to be able
Godot
to
is
see
probably
the
worth your
stitches
time.
while I'm crocheting and
I like
while
Godot
I'm
for
sewing,
what it
which
is.
might be a problem. So
Even if I'm an
every
idiot
single
with it.
part of this rat that is gray will be made with this yarn, and the feet, the tail, and the ears will be made from this pink cotton yarn, which is Lion Brand 24/7 cotton. So I've gathered all of my materials.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you what I was thinking about for my game thing. Paint. So like what I want to have happen is like you got this giant building, right? A guy that makes his own life harder. Why does that sound familiar? Okay, listen. Yeah, I'm called out a bit here. Okay, so you've got the player, right? So use like a little like green pill for him. All right, so the player starts off like Mega Man style at the top of a building. Do, 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 do. Okay, anyway. You've got like a thing where he's like standing on the roof, or maybe just like a cool skyline or some shit for like the intro, and then he like turns around and he says a little like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, bitch," or something. It goes yeet, and so he jumps off the edge, right? So when he jumps off the edge, now he's falling downwards like he oughta. So far, we kind of have this, right? And then he begins to fall. And I think right about here, I want to have like a plane exist for like a path that just like the player will repetitively like hit until you've done the thing you're supposed to do, which is basically use the like read the controls and use them. And then after that point, you can like actually continue to the level. So that way I make sure that you actually know what's going on before you even start the game. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but the one issue I have with this is, and we could just put like a cloud layer here. Like we just put clouds here-ish or whatever. And then like you hit a cloud barrier and then you come out of the cloud barrier and you're here. And it's just like a repeating skyscraper. There's nothing else to really like go off of as far as like where you need to be. So you don't really like, and like the space between this is going to be a lot bigger than I can draw on here, but I don't have enough space on this canvas to show you how much space. But like, you know, like you get some time to actually do the thing. And then once you actually do it, you can progress. My issue is that you're going to see this tower, and the tower is going to have to be really damn tall in order to justify how long you were falling. It's going to be really weird if the tower is like 2 feet tall. A reskinned version of that influent loop you were making at the beginning, basically. There's another thing I was thinking about that might be an issue, and that is boss fights. Like, how long can you go along on a loop? You know? Because, like, the better you do, the faster you go, but your damage doesn't increase with speed. So it's like, and I don't think it should. So it's like, when you get to the boss, there is a hard cap on how, like, if you get, like, if the path for the boss is going to be, like, I don't know, like, woo, or whatever, right? And let's say you do that entire loop, but, like, the boss isn't dead because, like, you did it in half a second because you're good. Look up Quake 1's final boss. All right. Let's literally just look that up on YouTube right now. Shub-Niggurath. That's a Lovecraft. Krusty. Oh, that's as good as it gets. All right. You can run out of ammo. In my game, no. I don't care. But in this game, you can run out of ammo. You know, I don't think I've ever beaten Quake. I think I've played like the first level or two. It gives you a weapon in the water that kills you in the water if you... It's amazing. I love it. I did play some Unreal Tournament. Alright, why'd you ask me to look at this? Like, what's going on with it, Ego, that I need to understand? Because skip to the end, okay. You don't shoot it to kill it. I see. There's a secret area and not helpful for what you're trying to achieve right now. Lovecraft was really popular around this time. So you can't kill it by shooting it. You just go through that portal and you win? Oh, you telefrag it. Oh, I see. That's a very silly way of winning the final boss. That's great.
Have my 3mm crochet hook.
My point
4mm
was it's time
crochet hook,
agnostic.
my
I
scissors,
see.
and all of the needles I'll be using. My polyester fiber fill or polyfill. I have two different kinds of polyfill.
I suppose so.
And that's because this kind is
I just feel like bosses should be shot
dry
at.
polyester packing.
Maybe like
And it's basically a rougher.
we could have like a boss that like takes the power of, I mean, glowy weak red points is always good, but like if you're going too fast, you may not have time to actually kill them.
Stiffer type of polyfill, and it packs together nicely. I use
I'll have to
it
think
in
on it
the
some.
heads of my amigurumis to make them feel harder, and so that the stuffing doesn't move away from the snout. And then for the rest of the body, I use normal polyfill that you can find anywhere. So I guess I should get started. Now, I'm hypothesizing that I will be able to make a rat with this yarn. It's just going to be kind of difficult, kind of weird. So I've made my slip knot.
I think
and
yarn that
first
you're supposed to use for
chain 2. I always start my amigurumi with a chain 2 instead of a magic circle.
It's very tilde core.
And then I single crochet 6 into, oh boy, already I'm starting to almost kind of regret doing this. Oh boy. Okay, so I've made 6 single crochets and I can kind of see the stitches. Oh boy. And then in my next round, wait. Oh boy. So I always start my amigurumis with my 3mm crochet hook so that the stitches
It's like you're supposed to use it for like scrubbies for your sink or whatever. You're not supposed to like
body of the animal I'm making. I
crochet rats out of it. So that's why the question is, will it rat?
Made with my
Tilda will be
millimeters.
home
so
here
now I have round
in-
2 in, and
soon, hopefully.
I notice a lot with yarns that have kind of all this stuff like poking out from the main strand is a lot of it will go on the inside of the, so this is the inside of the amigurumi. It looks a lot fuzzier, and when I put it right side out, it's kind of fuzzy, but it's not nearly as fuzzy as the inside is. And I find that happens with every single yarn that has like a fuzz to it. Okay, so I did some off-camera crocheting, and I have the head and some of the neck done, and this is normally the point where I switch to my 4mm crochet hook and I stuff the head. I've been working with this yarn for a few minutes, and it's actually surprised me how I am able to actually recognize my stitches. They're definitely hard to see, harder to see than a normal yarn, but I can see them,
Yeah.
which is a big plus, because I think that'll make sewing on all the legs and the tails and the ears a lot easier than I thought. Another thing I noticed is that it does really like rub on your fingers. My finger's starting to get a little red. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it
Okay,
is starting
she's
to get a
almost
little
home.
red. And I use stitch markers made of yarn, and this is just
She
a
left work a
normal
little bit,
acrylic yarn.
like early.
And
Well,
working
she
with
shut the
this
store out on
yarn
time.
makes this feel silky smooth in comparison. So now
Because
all I
no one
have
was
to
coming in
do
because
is
there's
I
nowhere
have
to
make
park in
the
town.
rest of the body for this rat, and then I need to crochet the little end pieces onto the tail and all the legs. So I'm going to get started on the body.
No, because we got a foot of snow last night.
Yummy. I noticed it kind of matches my shirt.
Very
Can
much
you tell that I
does.
like this color? I don't know if you can see it on camera, but
Like,
my
yeah, you probably
finger is
are
getting really
wearing.
red.
The thing
getting,
about like
dented.
anything you knit or crochet is you're
denting my
touching
finger.
it,
It
like
doesn't
all the
hurt.
time.
But it feels like I'm sanding down my finger. This is the most boring part of my rat. It's just 10 continuous rounds of the same thing. It's really nice when I'm watching YouTube though, because then I can just ignore what I'm doing and watch the video. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But if I'm
No, this is not a
just
soft
sitting
rat.
here without any podcast or video to watch, it's kind of boring. So now I get to start decreasing. All right, now it's time
Oh,
to
good.
stuff the body. I've got a little hole, and I'm grabbing my stuffing. And
Can you tell if someone
Kinda just
knits by
feels like I'm
feeling their
making a
hands?
normal rat.
I've only ever held
Using
my
this
wife's
yarn
hands, and
is
she's
a lot
crocheted
better
and
than
knit.
I
Well,
thought it would
crocheted since
be.
before
thought this
I
was
was.
gonna be
Hey,
absolutely
Zot,
terrible
thank you for the
experience,
raid.
And I was about to start torturing myself.
Hey, wait, Zot, aren't you doing a thing here soon? Because Zot is, I think Zot is in on that charity thing. Because we ran ours just the other day, but I believe that Zot is doing another one with the 27th. Yes, that is also for the American Heart Association with Hootie and Vinny, and I think there's someone else. Gear, there you are. That was very good. So mark your calendars if you haven't already. I am unfortunately born in this month as well, so that means that like my subathon that's coming up on the Valentine's Day to my birthday. And I'm going to spend majority of my birthday not actually streaming. I just feel like I should spend some of it streaming. And then I'm going to spend the rest of it just hanging out with my wife and kissing her. Because I'm weird. I'm not weird. That's a great thing to do. I turned on the light, right? I think I did. It's still bright out. How do you feel? Yeah. Here's a tip for anyone who is a aspiring streamer. Do not Yeah, I'm turning 37 this year, not 38. Last year I thought I was 37 because I just like got off on count. So like normally you'd feel bad getting older, but I've already been 37. I already lived an entire year of my life for the most part being 37. So like, you know? Like, it would suck if I had to do it for the first time. Fuck. A little on the sick side. So is Scatterbrain just like YouTubing and such, or what? And crosswords and all that jazz? 44 for me this month. Damn. Why are we old?
But it's honestly not that bad. Like, I can see my stitches well enough that
Anyway,
I
we're
only
watching this
lost my
dude
stitch count
crochet
once, and
a
I
rat
corrected it. It was in the head.
out
And
of like
I feel like I'll be
sink
able
scrubby
to
material.
sew this on pretty competently. So now I'm gonna make the final round of this and close it up, and
To
then
see
I'm
if
gonna
it'll turn
start
into a rat.
finishing the
You could
legs
wash shit with
and
this
the
rat.
tail, and I'm gonna sew
Normally
it all
you wash
together,
a
and we'll
rat,
see
but what if
how
the
this
rat
rat
washes you?
comes out. You know, I just realized I'm gonna have to sew with this as my thread in order to
A
put
few
the body
themed
together.
videos and see what Tangent, Zot, and chat end up. That
I
sounds
don't
interesting.
know how
Yeah,
well
that's
gonna
awesome.
go, because when you pull the yarn, it kind of has a little bit of resistance because all of these little fuzzy things kind of get caught slightly. It doesn't get caught to the point where like it's gotten stuck, but it does get a little caught. So I think sewing with this as the thread is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Oh my
Right
god,
now,
steel
I
wool
am
would suck to work
sewing the
with, I'd
body
imagine. I don't
shut.
crochet
Let's
or
see how
knit, but
that
I have like,
goes. Okay.
I sit near my wife when she does it, so I'm gonna husband-splain this. Which I've explained before, is where you don't actually know what you're talking about, but like your wife does, and you pay attention to your wife. I call that husband-splaining, right? Anyway, you just end up touching your yarn a whole bunch when you crochet or knit. Like, it's just like the nature of it. I mean, like, look at this dude. Like, you can't not. Like, you're working with it all the time. You're gonna like get dirt on it and all that jazz. That's why you gotta always block your yarn, so that way you can clean it, so that way it doesn't like stretch weird. When you actually wash it for the first time. But you do need to wash it, because you've probably been like sitting around like eating while you're working on it, or like you who knows where you've put it and all that. You just wash your shit, man. But anyway, if you block it, then that's what happens. You end up washing it. I should probably stop. Yeah, you probably dropped onto the floor once or twice. Like, shit happens. Life is very oily and gross. But yeah, you also do just like touch it a whole bunch. So like steel wool, you're just going to be like constantly hours upon hours of manipulating steel wool with your bare hands. Like eventually, like steel wool isn't that rough, but like if you're touching it that often, steel wool sex toys. Okay, well, you could, but don't. I'm just saying, like, that seems like a good way to, like, have bloody fingers. Like, not like you would cut all the way through them, but just your hands would just be, like, shorn. You know? Steel wool is not a body-safe material. Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
too
I would
bad.
imagine it's not.
Ooh, it is getting caught. This yarn is surprising me in a lot of different ways. I can see my stitches, it's not snapping, it's just not as hard to work with as I thought it would be. And the shape is about the same as it would be with the regular yarn. Like, the shape is almost exactly the same.
Looks
and
good
I
to
thought
me.
that this yarn would kind of distort the normal shape of the pattern, because some yarns will do that. Now we have to crochet the end pieces on all of the feet and the tail. That basically means I have to continue crocheting each of these pieces with this yarn so that when I sew it on, there's a seamless transition from body to leg and from body to tail. I like the physics that the tail has while I crochet. I like the way it wiggles around.
Oh, okay, so you're not doing the tail out of it too.
Strand of yarn for sewing. I notice when I cut this yarn, it kind of explodes a little bit. It left a few pieces on my table, which that sucks. I don't like messy yarn.
I'm sure Tilda will sit down and teach you how to crochet at some point or another.
A whole lot, because it just leaves a mess everywhere, and I don't want to vacuum every day because I'm using that yarn.
I'm sure she wouldn't mind doing that.
Have longer toes.
Fucking love her. She's so cool.
The front feet do. Now I have all of my pieces done. I'm going to make the nose out of
this person's neurodivergent, you think?
I'm going to find where I usually make the nose.
Who gives a shit?
Sew in that nose.
Like, I know you don't mean it in a bad way, but I'm just like,
as I'm sewing it through
how else are you gonna get a video
gliding
about
right through? It is gliding
making
through
rats.
the stitches in this rat very easily. The rest of
I think I just heard my wife come home. I'm gonna click to the end and see if it will. Oh my god, it does rat. Like, there's definitely something wrong with me too, but like,
is done, and just,
that's a rat.
Just look at this.
That's a pretty good rat.
It's adorable. It came out a lot better than I thought it would. I guess I should rate this yarn. If I were to rate it with the star system, you know, 5 stars is the best, I think I would give it like a 3, honestly. And I don't think that's bad, because there are chenille yarns that I would rate lower than that. I am giving it a 3 because
it is red heart.
It exceeded my expectations a lot. I can see the stitches. It's somewhat easy to sew. It's easy to work with. It's just a lot better than I thought it would be. However,
Yeah,
the reason why it's not a 5, very obvious reasons. It's rough. It's a scrubby yarn. It does not feel good in your hands while you're crocheting with it. And the texture of this toy, I said earlier that I like rough textures, and I kind of like it, but most people are not going to like this texture on a toy. And so if I were to try to sell this, it would probably be kind of difficult to sell, because people are going to feel this and be like, ew, why does it feel like this? So that's why I'm giving it a 3. Should I sell this though? Let me know in the comments if I should try to sell this rat, or if I should just keep it. Let me know what kind of yarn you would like me to make a
that
rat
stuff,
out
I've
of
felt that
next.
stuff. That's not even a sensory thing. Like that, that fabric just kind of, it is rough. Like, it does not feel good. It's not meant for this. You know, like, but that's the beautiful thing about like tools and stuff. Like, you can just do whatever the fuck you want. If you want to make a rat out of it, make a fucking rat out of it, you know? I have issues with the color. It's a lot. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not my cup of tea either, but like, this person's, that's neat. Wife? Hello, welcome home.
Hi.
Hi. Someone recommended this video to me and they said it was Tilda Core. And it's called Will It Rat, making rats out of shit yarn.
Hi.
I'm gonna stop streaming now. I don't see any art. I'm gonna check the Discord for art as well.
Will it rat? It looks like it ratted.
It did. It's like scrubby yarn.
Oh yeah, that yarn that's made so you can make dish scrubbies out of it.
Yeah. So he made a rat out of it.
Yeah.
No new art. I'm gonna hang out with wife now.
Yeah. Hi guys.
Oh, your cheeks are cold.
It's cold.
It's very cold out there.
Yeah.
I stood by the window for a minute. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go and lie down and hang out with wife now. Yeah, watch the new arcade. It's good. You can see. Let me make the screen bigger. Yeah, you can see this guy get made. Actually, this one turned out really. It looks even better on the camera, I think.
Yeah, it looks great.
Like photorealistic on the camera. It's a little like scrappier in person, but
yeah,
like.
but you're like looking right at it.
Oh yeah, I mean it doesn't look bad.
It's great.
Yeah, it turned out really good, but. I'll do there for now. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Yeah, I don't know when. I believe Thursday. Let's raid. I haven't raided Hackerling in a bit, I don't think. Let's raid Hackerling. I'll see you guys.